Welcome, everybody. We are glad that you are here today, that you are joining us today in the European Event Series 2023. We are today talking about the construction product regulations. But first of all, some organizational stuff, please. We will record the seminar if somebody don't want to join this recording. So please, you have the opportunity to leave, but I would like you to have you here. So, and of course, I think it's useful you don't have your video and your microphone on at the moment. Of course, we are a small group, so if we have questions, of course you can unmute yourself afterwards. First, some words about EBO. Perhaps not everybody knows us, but we have a wonderful website where you can have more information about us. We are doing a lot of research and also services about materials, but also building assessments, building physics we are monitoring. And also we are doing some education and trying to disseminate all our knowledge. I'm Barbara Bauer. I work at the EBO already for a long time, and mostly in context with building materials. So this material ecology, of course, is connected with the regulation of EU, which already started in 2011, and the ongoing revision we will speak about today. And we are doing this in context with, or in cooperation with natureplus, the natureplus Association, a non-profit association where we are certifying, now where we are labeling materials over the whole life cycle and developing a lot of criteria, but also we are trying with a lot of stakeholders to find what sustainable building products have to fulfill. And there are a lot of information and services, and also natureplus has a website which is fresh and newly revised, and I think you will find a lot of information there. We would like you to be involved with us, because sustainable buildings, sustainable materials, this is what we are working for. The EU is doing a lot with the building materials. It starts with the eco-design of the sustainable products regulation. It's going on with the construction products regulations, and shall come into the building assessment. And today we are going deeply into the CPR. And I'm happy to have you here, Sarah Richter. She is CEO of Bau EPD GmbH for the environmental product declarations in Austria. And she's also representing Austria in the CPR-drafts, and this is a very long process, I learned, Sarah. So please, we will switch over to your presentation.
Yes, with that, yes. I think I just have to open it, and you should see it. That's right. Do you see it?
No.
Perhaps you close yours and you stop sharing.
I have to stop. And?
Yeah, you have to stop. And then you should see mine. And you should see me, and I cannot see you anymore in full mode as I am now. So I need,
try, please try.
I try again. Okay, then I have to go back to the Zoom. And yes.
Yes,
Here we
now
go.
it will work. Yeah.
And you see it now. Okay, I'll switch to full presentation screen now. So I cannot hear you if you raise your hands. You have to give me acoustic signals if you want anything from me. Yeah, it's working up and down. Okay, party people, let's start. Small group as we are, we can try to do it like this. I speak until I get out of breath. I drink a little. You have the chance for questions while I breathe in, and I'll answer them, and then I'll go on chapter per chapter. I think that's much easier. So that is what we're going to do today. The new CPR, it's on our threshold. Environmental sustainability finally in. But what are we going to do out of this? That's the status and future outlook of today. And I will try to use my 45 minutes that Barbara granted me as effectively as I can with such a huge topic. We want to talk about CPR itself, new tasks for future notified bodies, that's me in future time, harmonize the end standards that will affect you all, LCA standards that will back up the harmonized standards where they don't detail the things, and some challenges and open issues for circularity and bio-based materials to meet this event series. I hope we will have time for it. So just let's go into it. This is me. You can later either watch the recording, or you can also have the slides, of course, and see who I am, what I'm doing. Why I am supposed to talk for Austria is nobody else does. So where do I get my knowledge from? I sit in several international circles, actually all of them, despite the European Commission, Parliament, and Council. That's some colleagues representing Austria in the Council. And I have a good network, and that should be sufficient for today, because there's nothing more you could know from anywhere today. Hey, hi, Thomas. Either you mute yourself or you have a question. Ah, it's muted, fine. Okay, so let's start. Let's go into this. What do we have here? We have this slide, which I've been showing for quite 2 years now. I was hoping it's a short slide only, but you can see global and local ecological footprints of wars are meanwhile quantified with all their chain reactions and researched in real time. And this also by private persons, and they're doing quite a good job. We're asking ourselves if construction companies can be the winners of the war, as it has been in past time wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, and other times. Big companies mostly profiting. I say no. Raw materials are becoming scarce and expensive for reconstruction of Ukraine, and we do not know whether they will rebuild Gaza at all one day. Anyway, you may not be aware of it, but we have a United Nations International Day for preventing the exploitation of the environment in war and armed conflict now. This is based on these resolutions. Last year, I showed a slide where it says we just have talks about this. And meanwhile, we have these papers out. So even in wartime, you should take care of resources. If this is done in Mariupol, we don't know, but it would give us a perfect chance to rebuild this city in a sustainable way. And how to do this, CPR might help. So that's the agenda for today. If you don't come through, you can choose. Either you stay longer or you read the slides afterwards. We'll start with the status of the new CPR, the draft of 22, and I will focus on basic requirement 8, because this is my specialty. For 7, I have 2 slides prepared. Then we'll go through the CPR key process, what it is and what's the status and what's my role and what I learned from it. Shortly, the boring stuff about notified bodies, and this is quite a good group where I'm in now, where we will have position papers that may be worth more than all that other stuff here. Yeah, we have standards and guidelines, expected ones and already there ones. Of course, they're already there ones. They are not so good. We have to revise them all the time. The expecting ones will solve nothing. Yeah, last but not least, the bio-based products. I can give you a slide about the storage thing and some philosophical questions about this. And the challenge is circularity. I have picked out only one example why this here standard you may be aware of. It exists since 2012, is not the solution. A short connection to the building level may give you an overview. If you don't know the abbreviations, then you can learn them by heart in a quiet minute on your toilet or anyway later. Let's start in medias res now, the status of the new CPR. At the moment, we don't have a perfect paper where I can pick out any status for you. Why? We have a trilogue process going on. We have the Commission proposal of 22. I'll send it to you in German if you want to, on request, because you will not find it in German on the website. You can download it in English still. We have the Parliament report on it. That's the answer of the parliamentarians. We have then the Council general approach to it. This is the member state representatives saying something to it. And those three are still quarreling about the content. They have another technical meeting after the other. One took place on 6 December. And the policymakers in these three sections aim to reach an agreement by February 2024. Why? They want to be done before the election campaigns for the parliamentarians start. So this is best unofficial of info I could get for you. If you go to the officials, you get nothing. So in Austria, we have, of course, representatives in the councils, and they just wrote, no comments on drafts possible. Yeah, sorry about that, but it will not be different in other countries maybe. So let's rely on unofficial sources and believe then that within February or March, we will hopefully get this paper. So what do we know for now? As I mentioned, we have the draft construction product regulation 22. Shock for many people. You can download it here. And you can have the German questions. I don't know who sent it to me, but I can pass it on, of course. And then you can read. It has been commented a lot, and it will not stay as it is in the entire detail, I think. And I think a lot of delegated acts will go one after the other to refine this. Anyway, that's what we know. And now to sustainability. Anyone who has not read the CPR as it exists now may jump in by looking at this overview. This is the current construction productions regulations from 2011, and we have the current status of 7 basic requirements for construction products. I will not go into detail about the first 6. They will stay as they are: statics, fire protection, hygiene, health, and environment. Environment in this here context has nothing to do with what we're doing later. Safety of use and accessibility, sound insulation, energy saving, and thermal insulation. This is known a lot. Anyway, there was a 7th basic requirement called sustainability, global one, and this was completely useless. So the Commission thought we have to do something about the environment, and they gave us the circular economic package, which you may have widely discussed in the days in this event series, and a part of it is the new CPR. And they have also other strategic propositions for other branches, and this Green Deal is in all the papers, and let's see what's coming out. So you can see it in a graph, and we will have an umbrella. This is the sustainable product regulation, and this one is for all the products except of construction and textiles and some other exceptions. They can make their own circles. So for the time being, we're allowed to use CPR to fulfill the Green Deal. As long as we do as the Commission wishes, we can play the field for construction products over CPR. And here we go. New sustainability was possible to do something, always there. Hardly any manufacturer has heard the word LCA. You may have heard it and you may have used it, but most people didn't. So up to now, the basic requirement was useless. Some used it for greenwashing, and some did a good job in doing so. So where's the Green Deal, they thought? Here it is. The basic requirement 7 is now split, and we will have 2. 7 becomes poisonous and or hazardous substances. And the new one, basic requirement 8, still named sustainability, but that's on a global level. I will explain the difference in a minute. So here we go. The 7 is not for me. So this is why I have to push you forward to other experts. It's not the focus of the workshop. Why? It has never been touched in the CPR key process so far. And I have to point out to natureplus and IBO and all these experts who know a lot about type 1 labeling and certification of crucial substances. But I will give you a short interpretation because it's still a side topic to me, and I'm asked questions from time to time. What's the difference? We have hazardous emissions into the outdoor environment of construction works, and this is the local one. Some also count the indoor environment where people live. So everything that's not within the construction element but goes outside is to be done under basic requirement 7. And the big difference to the 8 is the local environment, above, next to, under the building and engineering work. But if you say local, then it's the nearest neighborhood and or region. It's not the globe. And this is the difference. And anyway, the full extract from Annex 1 draft CPR, where this is in text, is not much longer. So I simply copy-pasted it to this slide. You have it here. It's hazardous emissions into the outer environment of construction works. And it says really nothing. It's very superficial and there's no detail requirements, neither benchmarks. So we will see what's coming out once it's dealt with in the CPR key process and or standardization requests. Anyway, we don't want the nearest environment to be damaged by such substances. And I have one short remark to the point D here. I get questions often. It says the release of net greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. Some say, well, this is a double counting with basic requirement 8. It is not. As I said, it's local here in 7, and it's not a redundancy. We know that better now. You all do now. This refers to some things like cooling liquids in building services installation and similar local situations. If they break, then things fly to the air, and it's mostly gases that have a lot of impact if you calculate it with a characterization factor. So those we want to get rid of. By the way, who needs a fridge? We can put things outside if it's cold enough and eat dry vegan stuff if it's hot. Anyway, that's all for basic requirement 7. Questions not to me, questions to those who know about such substances and know how to exclude it and do the verification and assessments following whatever homemade rules or REACH or whatever. So we go now to sustainability 8. I take a first sip. Short time for a very short question. No question. Okay, so let's go into the actual part we want to do today. Here we have the full extract from Annex 1 draft CPR 2022. It's also not very detailed. It says the sustainable use of natural resources of construction works, and this is the global resource pool we're talking now about, shall ensure the following superficial points A to E. We want nice products with low footprint, with sustainable use of materials, with minimizing the overall use of whatever. Actually, we shouldn't exist on this planet. But if, then we should be recyclable. And this is it. Here we have it. Global environmental impacts from cradle to grave, and also the supply chain will be included. So what's this in practice? What can we do about this? How can we quantify this? Here we go. People may know, people may not know. This is now the annex, and it's a copy-paste action from the standard EN 15804. And here we have the essential characteristics that have to be covered by harmonized technical specifications. This is the HAND standards that will be delegated acts. And once these are there, CPR can be quantified and fulfilled. So we have a lot of indicators from A to B. You may know many of them. Climate change effects, global warming potential, everybody knows this one. And this is the only one who is obviously getting mandatory for the future CPR. The others are mandatory if member states say so. That's it. And you can read through it. And if you have time, I can explain at least the first ones, what it's all about. But you may also know, of course, we don't want eutrophication in the aquatic environment. Makes a lot of algae and things like that. And we want to have no cancer and human tox. So that's all good indicators. Some say some of them are not so good. They could be refined or the methods could get better. For the first ones, we have stable methods and a lot of countries use them. So mandatory or not, let's go on. So why do we have the CPR? You may ask yourself. Why do we all have to do things after CPR? We want a single market for construction product. For producers, this is nice because then they can enter the product in the whole European Union. And for us, it's also nice because then those products have to fulfill a certain quality level in order not to break down or to be bad for the environment. And we had up to now a so-called CE marking, and the meaning of that you all know, no CE marking, you cannot sell on the market. And we had those declarations of performance where all these basic requirements stuff we had up to now, the technical features had to be listed by the manufacturers. This will still be the case, but environmental stuff will be in. New will be the declaration of conformity with two of the new requirements you read upstairs. So here we go. We want only one marking, and member states cannot regulate anything only on the basis of this DOP and DOCs. If manufacturers fulfill it, they can enter the market. We are not allowed to use alternative approaches, but this has been always the case for fire resistance, for whatever. For environmental assessments, this will be new. Alternative approaches, we have a lot throughout Europe, and they want to harmonize that. And I tell you, boys and girls, they are struggling like mad. I'm doing my best with my experts and scientists to bring forward practicable and fair solutions that are also good for the environment and avoid greenwashing. But yeah, if we manage it like they want it, let's see. We have some solutions proposed by the Commission for this calculation and quantification stuff to get figures for the DOB. They will allow the cascading system. You can also reread this then in the draft I can send you in German, or you can download in English. The collaboration by companies will be easy, I should say, if they have documents from notified bodies that fit one to each other. And so we can have building elements as a sum of many different results from different countries if notified bodies verified it and it is correct. So we can have this one, we can have a declaration without an assessment if the performance is very similar and you have many similar products, they say. And we can have software validation, and this will be the future anyway, whether they give out the software or not. This is the way forward, IT tools to have changes in figures and results on the fly. And this is what I am working with at the moment, and it's really exciting. So we have chances to tackle this, but it will not be as easy as it was the other day. The digitalization of information, as long as we have electricity and internet, without that it won't work, but nothing will work without that, will provide this information to customers anytime, any day, and it allows the choice between products based on sustainability performance. And you can compare all over Europe, obviously, because they want to link this to digital product passport and digital building logbooks. They say the information shall be available for decades. I like this one because if it comes true, it can be useful for us. And now the big dream, the Christmas dream, the product labeling requirements for construction products. The CPR is required to align with the ESPR, and you all know these diagrams. You even have them for buildings, and for products, of course, we can do this, but it doesn't make sense under all circumstances. So for the time being, in CPR, a key process, this benchmarking topic has not been touched yet, but they say it's not out of scope. In the end, it can come. And for some products, the end consumer may be able to choose with such diagrams or whatever. You can read in Annex 1, Part A and C. I'm not against a European benchmark, but I think it's not easy for all products and only few product groups. I am positive for regional benchmarks. This can bring something, but the systems have to be comparable. So let's see. And that's now chapter 2. I will have another short pause to give you the chance to reflect and ask a question. There's a chat. Is there something in the chat? No, it's not a
I
chat.
have one question following your last slide.
Tracy, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I love your presentation so far, Sarah. Great. It's really good to follow along. Very informative. So I guess do you know what kind of products are the highest contenders to have potentially that benchmark from the outset, or is that unknown to all at this point?
Still quite unknown, I say. But years ago, when I had debates in CENTESY 350 standardization groups, when we talked about what to do with the mandate of the Commission to make the standard PEF compatible, they said something. They wanted for all products, the end consumer can decide him or herself on. So they were thinking about paints and all these surface products people can buy on the market and put in their homes. And we said to them, it's not enough because a lot of people are building their residential homes alone, putting one brick on the other or with the help of a few people. So they choose the brick, they buy the brick, they pay for the brick. And even if they have an architect, this one has always asked, not always, but most time to ask, can I use this or that product, even if it's just for the price situation. So end consumers do more than paints. So in the end, we had to change the standard to all products. And there was an annex with only a few products, and we put this out again. It was me saying that I know people who stack bricks and that the end consumer is pushing the button what kind of product is going to be in the building. And sometimes not the tenant, not the people who live in a building, but those who pay the bill decide. And with that, each and any product could get a benchmark. So let's see what it's all about. We have tried to do some benchmarking projects for environmental labels like the Austrian Eco Label, and we did it for thermal insulation products. And it was a hell of a work, and we had few input data only based on EPD. And once we have all the input data, because CPR is there and everybody has to do it, I think you can do it. But still, for some products, you need regional aspects to go into those benchmarks. So it's not so easy as to think. But yeah, in the end, you can do it for each and any product, of course. And I think if you give a high weighting to transport and regionality, we may achieve something. Let's see. So I hope this did answer your question a little. There's nothing more substance at the time being. So maybe we go on to the CPR key process that is supposed to bring us substance. What is this kind of process about? With CPR and PEF project and all this LCA stuff for construction materials, the Commission is, in my opinion, doing a new way and quite a good job. Stakeholders from the beginning, they can say what they want, and it's a process learning by doing. It's not just regulating, it's just seeing what can we do and what's realistic. And I think it's a good process. So they want the requirements that come out now for environment to be able to supplement the existing construction product regulation as it is as soon as possible, on one hand. So they want to give out delegated acts just to have an add-on to the construction products regulation. And then they let us work, and the feedback out of the praxis and some more rounds of discussing shall be incorporated in the final revision of the CPR. And here, this word is the German word for CPR. Sorry, I did not see this is still German. Bauproduktenverordnung, we do say. And in 45, everything for all the products should be regulated. So we have the CPR old, and we have some interim results of the CPR key process, and this finally will be the CPR new. So it's like Tetris playing. And in the end, if you're good, everything is filled, and you have things solved. And I hope that this will be a good and short process for the main drivers on the environmental side, the products with the most impact. Those with little impact shall wait until 45 if need. So I'll show you about this ranking later. So why can't I just take the next slide? Yeah, here it is. So what do we have today? We have environmental information on a voluntary declaration basis. There's nothing sure that manufacturers know what they're doing or want to do it. They just can make EPD as they like, and they can do whatever they want and interpret whatever they want out of this, make a lot of marketing stuff that's not yet regulated, green claims everywhere. In the new CPR, we will have a mandatory declaration of the one system. This is good. And they will implement this from now on progressively by construction product family, one after the other. They will integrate the output of one family, with a delegated act in the CPR. So no matter if the new one is done and ready, for some, it will be honest in future time. And this is directly linked to the product placing on the market. So once you have a harmonized standard saying environmental stuff is mandatory, you're a goner, you have to do it. And the third-party validation by notified bodies is the not so new thing, because they've done it for all the other technical specifications. But for environmental, it's a hard one, because notified bodies really cannot do what they want. So you can, as a manufacturer, not buy your green anymore at an expert of your choice. You'll be checked. So here we have the committees where I'm working in. You can see this is a CPR committee. They have some expert groups, an advisory group of the commission people. Then we have the CPR key steering group. Member states can send people to horizontal and vertical groups for the product families. And here I do sit looking with one eye at these groups, and we try to give them some sense in their suggestions of papers that will finally come into the CPR and or harmonized standards. Here's the timeline now for this key process, as mentioned. They will start with product group A, and they already have started. Some of them are quite mature. And then they will have the standardization requests, and once the standard is out, we will have a citation in the OJEU system, and there you can find the standards that are harmonized and you have to fulfill. And for one group, it may be sooner, and for others, it may be later. And if you want to know who's first, you can see it here. Mass intensive and impact intensive products first. Precast concrete and structural metallic products are nearly done. We have already groups working on reinforcing steel windows and doors, and I can all see this in the Teams channel. I'll show you afterwards if you have a minute. It's a very unstructured Teams channel with many groups like this, and the horizontal group, and it's really difficult to find stuff there, but the commissioners are good to us. Every time we have to comment, they give us the right extracts and send it in an email, else we wouldn't have a chance. But we comment and put it in, and it's quite a good group, I would say. So here we go. This is now the latest one I have, and it reflects reality as per December 23, very good. We have the precast concrete product stuff already out. We have the reinforcing and pre-stressing steel and doors and windows working like hell. We have the cement people and the thermal insulation people. Constitutional group is already there, and we have some others where experts are at the moment trying to found some groups and start working. For the dark blue ones, if they are in a hurry and really want to have a delegated act soon, then they can do so. They can take the so-called fast lane. This means going to CEN, find your committee, write a CEN PCR standard and present it to the group and the commission. And if it's fine, then you have the parallel work done and have it sooner, but you have to present it. And it's not that the commission makes suggestions and we can comment. You present something and then the discussion starts. But okay, if you're a chimney producer and you deadly want something regulated, you can have this. Okay, let's see another expected timeline. This one is a nice one. I have now the honor to represent my institution in the group of notified bodies, and the TechSec is in Denmark, and they made this nice slide that shows very good how this works. So this is the best estimate. We have already the citation in the OJ for solid fuel stoves, but they're not really compliant to 1584. So there has to be an amendment, but they're already there and we'll discuss them in the next meeting by March. We hope that in March 24, CPR will be out. We also hope that in the second quarter, the publication of the verification system notified bodies have to do, this is called AVCP Systems 3+, I'll come to that later, will be out. By mid-year, we have the longest day in June. We hope for a delegated act for the precast concrete and for the structural metallic products. And we hope that we can publicate this delegated act before 25 starts. And so on and so on. For cement and thermal insulation, nearly 26, and it goes until 45. But the big ones will be tackled very soon, and we hope to get their footprints in good quality before this planet dies. So that's the horizontal group. For you, this might be a boring Gantt chart, but for those who want to look into, they can reach later, später. No? What is this? This is the horizontal environmental group, and this is the rules for all the products. It's not for structural metallic products only. This was this horizontal stuff I've been talking about. These rules are for all the products, and we're trying to decide on what indicators we want and how the methodology for assessing them and for calculating them shall be. We have the verification rules, and we do not want the first suggestion from the draft of the commission. We want it differently and things like that. Data quality, a lot of open issues still to be solved. Some may be solved, some will be left to the group of notified bodies and to SEN. So you will never have real harmonization up to 45, but it's a better harmonization than ever before. The milestones I've been showing, I have here the short summary for you, what we're doing. We have this verification part where we still discuss about the AVCP 3+ system, and we hope that it will come out in a lighter way than, for example, for fire resistance, for the beginning. If not, then not. And the milestone 8, the essential characteristics, we have already discussed, and it will stay like I showed you in CPR, those 26 indicators, and mandatory, as I have said, it will be the carbon removals, the carbon footprints, and we hope that at least these tasks will hold as the environmental task group figured it out. So for those who have been asking if 1584 will be the method, yes, it will be. Yeah, milestone B is also quite good, and I made you a better slide than this for the hierarchy of documents. I'll show you later, and also the verification stuff I show a little later. The data quality stuff is out since yesterday to comment. They're a little late. They wanted to do this in autumn, but we will comment on until February. So milestone after milestone, we'll dig ourselves through this CPR draft and bring it to an end. Time for a short question, people.
Well, there are some questions, but Thomas asked how the benchmarks are going to work, because he says, knowing the difficulty to compare different EPDs, how do European Commission is aiming to give benchmarks for different products?
Yeah, like we did with our benchmarking try on thermal insulation products, you have the input of thousands of products for one product group. And if it comes to thermal insulation product, you have to split them depending on the material you're using. And within that, maybe even the raw density. So you don't know what the group will be that is going to be suitable for a benchmark, but you have to draw the line somewhere. And within the group you're benchmarking, you will hopefully have the input of not 50 products, but hundreds of products throughout the European Union. And then you can compare and you can bring them all in a ranking, and you can then analyze why some are so good and some are so bad. And once this analysis gives you a result, you can draw a red line somewhere and you can say, for example, we know how to do mineral wool without the baddest of a coal input, and 60% of the manufacturer manage. And out of those 60%, 30% make it real good. And that's why the figures are low. So let's draw the line at 60%. And then 10 years later, we make it sharper and sharper and sharper. You can also say for type 1 labeling systems, we want more, 80-20. Those 20% who have really innovative, good renewable energy stuff, whatever, this is the message to people, buy these. So you can do whatever you like, but you need the input data first. And this is why it's so difficult at the time being. We've done a project collecting thermal insulation EPD throughout Europe in December 22. 300 EPDs by that time I did find. I grouped them and I tried to do the benchmark as best as we can, but we had to stuff this with generic data to have something in some cases for some materials. We dug through the French database where most products are in Europe, but really the input was not so much. Imagine 300 published EPD with footprints for thermal insulation that we could use, that are fresh and not and latest method and all of this stuff. It's not much. So doing benchmarks from this, you need some guts for it, but okay, we did. And the situation will get better. So if I had 3,000 EPD for thermal insulation data sets for different densities and for different use cases, I could make you a benchmark, and I could even justify it better than I did in this other project now. So things will be benchmarked sooner or later, I'm sure about that, but we have to wait for the input data, and this input data must be comparable, totally comparable, and that's the difficulty now. At the time being, we are struggling with two different upstream databases and different PCRs throughout Europe, and this harmonization with the citation here will help, but the methodology has to be refined with a revision of 15804. There's no way around that, and only after that, and after revision of the CPCR that the HEN standards are going to point to, I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, that's it. Without this, we cannot compare, because there will always be room for interpretation, and people will have DOP results that are totally in line with CPR and all the standards, and still different because people interpret things differently. Manufacturer will interpret it the best way they can. So hold on, but not for long. I see within 10 years, we'll be nearly there. So we will start working now, and I think the finest thing would be waiting with benchmarks, official ones for market entrance, about 10 years, and then you can do it either for type 1 labeling very sharp, or for market entry, you can do it at a lower point, but you can do it. And we already do this. We have a lot of benchmarks for construction products. Be like this, or you don't enter the market. So why not do this with environmental figures? I have to go.
Okay, Sarah, are you ready for a second question from Tracy? Who if I spell
Tracy,
it right?
please. Read out your question.
Tracy?
Oh, hi. I was just wondering, because I'm not as familiar with the EU market, but how influential is it for products to be placed on the market, quote, for the manufacturer's business? I'm just wondering if there's the majority of demand is for the environmental information upfront from like contractors and developers, or if that's, I don't know, maybe 25 or 50% of the market at the moment. And I'm not sure if you can answer that question, but if you can, I'd be
I
curious.
didn't get it really, the question. What is 25% of the market in your opinion?
So another way to phrase it, how important is it for business to have their products be on the market? So to follow the CPR, let's say, like, is it business like bad for the business if they don't have it on the market, or is there still
that they cannot enter the market? You're not allowed to sell if you don't follow the CPR and have the CE marking.
Oh, okay. So it's really, you can't sell
It's a crucial
in
thing.
Europe.
You cannot import it in, as you cannot cross the border with the product without the CE marking. And if you're caught, then if you have, I think it's fined by market surveillance if you're caught selling without CE market because of all these security reasons. This is the one reason they have. And this is the security for the end consumers. And this is many technical features that make products, not only construction products, secure for the end user. So without the CE marking, you cannot sell in Europe at all. That's it.
I see. Understood. Okay, so it's most anyone who
It's not
wants
only
to
the
sell in Europe.
environmental stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
CPR will be for a lot of other stuff, but the environmental pressure is getting higher now, and you have to have the figures, be they good or bad. No benchmark yet, but you have the figures for environment in future times to bring up. So let's go on. How do you get such a figure? You have somebody calculating it, and then you submit it to a notified body for third-party validation verification. And this is a must. This is also a must for fire resistance to enter the European market. So what's a notified body? I've been asked a lot of times. This can be an accredited or not accredited conformity assessment body for LCA and EPD. And to get notified, you have to prove to your local authorities that you can do the stuff after CPR as it's questioned to do. And this third-party validation is described in the AVS systems and ABCP systems as it will be named in future CPR. And the notified body has to verify the manufacturer's initial and updated environmental assessments, the CO2 figures, so to say. They have to validate the process applied to generate this assessment, the modeling used, and the use of IT tools. And we are now quarreling about, do verifiers have to physically visit each site for environmental stuff too? Probably yes. And will it be zero tolerance for incorrectness also for LCA figures? What does this mean? Zero tolerance for incorrectness means if the notified body finds out that the manufacturer did something wrong on purpose or unknowingly, and if it's really a fault, then the product is not allowed to enter the market for 1 year. Total closure. For fire resistance, I would say it's good because people could burn. For environmental figures, at the beginning as we are with harmonization, I think it's a tough one. Because sometimes manufacturers really don't know what LCA practitioners are doing, and LCA practitioners are relying on figures they get. So who is to blame in the end? The verifier cannot check it all. This just a random shot they're making. So zero tolerance for incorrectness and bringing companies out of the market for a small fault in an LCA. I think that's a hard one, but let's see what's going to get out of this final draft we get in March. So the role of the notified body is quite clear. We have to check on the CPR data, and we need this to ensure a uniform level of performance and that the notified bodies also perform all the same we have the group of notified bodies. This is a mandatory group for a notified body to join. And we have to participate in their work, and we have to assess in the member states that those notified bodies are really doing their work as prescribed here. And yes, I like it because this group can do some position papers, and they are to follow by all the notified bodies. And with that, more harmonization on the fast land possible. So Sarah Morgan, you raised your hand. Please, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just wondering because of referring to the last statement that you were making. You asked, sorry, you were talking about quarreling regarding whether it would be zero, like no room for incorrection. Has that been decided yet? Have they decided whether there's any room for incorrectness, or whether it means ejection from the market for a year or whatever?
That's the problem. We don't know. I've seen this in a paper the council was commenting on. So they made a draft paper that is different from the one we have in the draft of 22. And this draft paper, whoever did this text passage, said both. It said zero tolerance for incorrectness also for LCA, data models, so to say. And it said manufacturer side control. And people stormed against it, of course. And then we had a second version from the council only, where this was out, the zero tolerance for incorrectness. And the site visits were reduced to remote visits. Still, we have other versions out, and we are not sure if this interim version we've been commenting on in the environmental sustainability group with not this passage in and with remote is the last version, but we will get it in March. So let's do what we can. And in the first version, at least, this was not in. So I hope it has become a part and people fought against it and it's out again. But I cannot give you a guarantee because we're desperately trying to have a consolidated version from Council, Parliament, and Commission itself, but we don't have this paper yet. So I hope this answers your question. Not, we don't know, but it was an idea. And because we can comment, and some people have good connections to their member state representatives, like I had at this period in time, we can try to influence this process, of course. But in the end, we would have to live with it. And I think the practice would be like this: if it's a data model, you would say to the manufacturer, there's an error. Then we will check where it's coming from. And if it's somehow justifiable that people just overlooked something, then we could say correct this. But if we find out that people want to avoid things or want to do some greenwashing, then we could not do this. And then we would have to take the certificate away. This is the first thing, or do not even enter it into the database, and make, of course, a hand up to the market surveillance, which is toothless in Austria, by the way, but maybe not in other countries. And we would also have to give this information to the Commission, where they have the so-called CERC APC system, where notified bodies get emails all the time that in a big database, the certificates are withdrawn. And this is a public one. Everybody can see this then. So for manufacturers, you better not try. That's my message. Okay, we have to go on. I think we are now quite late in time, but let's see what we can make up. So this is the status draft on this delegated act on the AVCP 3+ system. And I think we have a public consultation at the moment ongoing. We have the group of notified body. We discussed it last week. We will bring our comments again to the Commission. And let's see if we get a citation in the second quarter of 24. And without zero tolerance for incorrectness, hopefully, and at least the chance to have remote audits in some cases. Anyway, whatever will come out once it's cited, and once the first harmonized standard is out, people can get notified with their institutions. Whoever will manage the notification, we will not have enough skilled verification personnel to serve them all. So we'd rather concentrate of those product groups that are with the big impact and coming first. I mean, they're overrunning EPD programs at the moment. And we really beg those products who are not so quick in line to maybe away with the projects until we have more skilled personnel. So at the moment, we are trying to get fundings for university lectures to build a big amount of verifiers, future verifiers. First, they're LCA practitioners, then they can become verifiers. We have to do this all over Europe in order to tackle CPR. And only CPR. For all the other products, for ESPR, it will be a hell lot of work to get the experts to make the LCA and to verify them. Anyway, be quick if you have mass-intensive products. So this is now point number 4 on the agenda. It's getting confusing. We have so many papers we have to follow in future times. And to make only one climate change indicator that is mandatory, it's the same amount of effort as doing 26, but no matter. How is this going to work? The Commission says the CPR key process is ongoing and the CPR annex will be out in March. Let's hope for this. Then we will have the standardization requests, as I told you, horizontal and across the standards. And the standardization bodies have to work it out. Then you have a candidate harmonized standard, and this will be cited in the journal officially. And once it's there, things get hot. Then you have some sort of time until you have to bring your EPD data forward, and you put it into the DUB with the new environmental performance. And from the DUB all over Europe, that's Europe, the small thing here, all the products, here you have a window. The CE marking and the QR code has to be there, else you cannot sell. The data goes into a database system, and from this database system, you have this digital product passport, this footprint passport with all the technical features, and you can take the data to the building level. This is how the Commission has worked it out, and this should come true, I hope. So hell, what regulative standardizes pieces supersede the others, you ask yourself now. It is really difficult. And why? Because this is so difficult, we asked the Commission to clarify. And they did in the CPR key process. In one of the horizontal modules, they gave us quite good answers, and now we know. So here's the ranking. CPR itself and its delegated acts, for example, for the ABCP 3+ system, with or without zero tolerance for incorrectness, is first, of course. Second will be the harmonized standards for product groups, yet to be developed. In some of them, they could push things that supersede the existing LCA standards. This is not nice, because then we have always other standards to look into. Standards are expensive, but it can be. So never forget to look into the harmonized standard once it's out. If you don't find nothing, most cases you will only find a reference to 15804 and the supporting standards. Then go there and look at 15804. This one should be revised sooner than later. At the moment, the European Commission is not after it, but I would recommend it, and we have a side standard for data quality out now. These two are the Bible. And still, you're not harmonized because things are open. Then you go to the CPCR for the product group. For precast concrete, we have one. For structural metallics, we will soon have one, I guess. For other products, they are under development or under revision. Some are published, others yet to be developed. I have an overview for you. And if you don't find the answer to your LCA modeling question there, you have to go to a position paper of the group of notified bodies. Ha, that's me influencing it. Nice. And if they don't have one, or if it's not enough, then you go to the Eco Platform Guidelines for EPD. This is a worldwide association, non-profit one, who gives out guidelines. Sometimes they have something others have not cared about. Also good for harmonization. All the EPD programs are following this, more or less. And still, if it's not what you're looking for, because things are still open, because people cannot find consensus, then you have your own guidelines, product-specific PCR of the notified bodies for one program. And if there's nothing, then rely on justified interpretations of experts and verifiers. So this is the ranking you have to do and to follow. And I hope everybody takes this to bed now. So 1584, I said, this will be the Bible. Here you see the modular system, this approach. We have the module A that's split into product, stage, and construction process. For all the products, the product stage is mandatory, for pre-products also. If you're not a pre-product, you have to do the end-of-life circuits too. And if you're doing some good and have some circular features, then you get benefits and goodies in module D. You may find this in hundreds of publications, the modular approach, and we could keep it for construction. For other products is not modular, but buildings stand long. So here you have it upside down. And upside down, this is again the Commission's slide. You have here the stages. And for all these, you will have the mandatory declaration of the climate change total in CO2 equivalents. Also with land use and land use change are the new ones from EN 1584 plus 82. The other indicators, 26, you know now, it's going on here in this direction. Mandatory declaration is required by the regulatory framework of the member state. So we will not get all the member states to make them all mandatory, which would be good. But we expect for Austria at least GWP, AP, and PE, acidification, potential, and primary energy disease, to be mandatory because we use it on building level already. And in Germany, we have even 3 more. So go to your member states and make pressure to make them all mandatory. It's not much more effort. We fought for this a lot. Experts did all over Europe. But the economy people were against it because they fear, as you have noticed, benchmarks. Yes, and they don't want to be benchmarked with all the indicators. It's bad enough for them that they cannot use CO2 as before. So here we go. The difference question. Yeah. Do we have time for the difference question? Yes, because you are experts already after half my presentation. So you will be full experts after my full presentation. Listen up, people. What's the difference? A1 and A2 and module A1 and A2. This is confused very, very often. Let's go back. You have here the module A1 and A2. In product stage, raw material supply is A1, and A2 is transport from the raw material site to the manufacturing plant. Remember this. I switch to the next slide again. We have the standard, which had 2 versions. It was out in 2012. Had to be amended the first time in 2014. It's called Amendment 1, A1. And again in 2019, Amendment 2, plus the corrigendum in 21. So an EPD as per A1, as people speak about it, is after the old standard this year. And it's not comparable with the new standard, the A2 standard. Whereas in all versions of the standard, again, modules A1 and A2 exist. It's a pity that this is the same expression. Now, don't mix it up again. You know, if people say EPD as per A1, it's an old one, gone very soon. And as per A2 is what we're doing right now in LCA. Maybe A3 will follow if we amend it again. But I hope not. I hope a full revision will come. So,
my dear Sarah, you know it's already 18 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. We're late. But you've been talking so long. Anyway, let's go on. This is now the overview of future CPR that are side standards to the 1584 and to the hand standards. You can go through it in a silent minute. this is what we have. So not 23, no, 32 product groups, but some product groups have already CPCRs with detailed LCA rules. Yeah, hey Barbara, I'm nearly done. That's good. So I can stay here a little longer. Some of them, as you know now, are out and old standard version following 1584 plus A1, Amendment 1. And some are already revised, and the new stuff is really after A2, and you can make perfect LCA for CPR, because CPR refers to A2 only, not the old one. So let's go through it quickly. The last slides. Point number 5, you've been talking about bio-based products, the global effects and the local challenges. So basic requirement 8, what do we have here? We have the storage effect, the storage sink, they call it. This means uptake of CO2 in bio-based products in module A. This is now module A. And emissions in module C. The tree is taking up CO2, then it's manufactured, put into the building, and stands there, hopefully long. And then at the end of life of the building, however, it's going up into the air again. And this is regardless of the type of disposal or recycling or thermal treatment, whatever. So you have a storage effect as long as the building is standing. And if it's not standing at least 50 to 100 years, it will not contribute much to the sink and the global warming problems. But this is how things are. In older days, when people were allowed only to declare module A of the EPD, the sink of the bio-based products was deep. Now with CPR, you will have to do module C too, so that people see it goes out in the end. Still, if bio-based products are produced with renewable energy, the figures are good. So don't hesitate to tell it's going out in the air one day, because this is true, but make yourself good with bio-based products by producing them with renewable energy. Yeah, to build or not to build, that's the question. We could also do it like this, huh? And live in trees. But anyway, the biogenic carbon content must be declared in an EPD, respectively for the CO2 in a DOP, for CPR in kilogram C. And this is table 9 out of 1584. So we know what's bound. Whatever political decision will result from this knowledge once we have it for all the products. These are the guys who will deal with this sink and can benchmark this storage effect if they want to. I will not go into detail here. This is again the type 1 labeling brigade, and they are doing the benchmarks and independent third-party verification. So rely on such labels. Hands-off self-declarations. Manufacturers are doing this a lot, but there is no independent third-party verification, and the benchmark might be worthless, just as I'm green. For DOP, you will have to do the product, environmental product declaration, the type 3 level. There is a third-party verification by a notified body, but no benchmark. Benchmark will be done by other groups, not yet by the notified body after CPR. So this is how things are connected, and a lot of manufacturers are doing both. And some eco-labels already benchmark the data coming out of the DOP, future DOP. So, circularity challenges. I have 5 more minutes, I guess. This is the Commission's ideas on reused products, because we want to reuse products. We don't have to do anything else but take it out and replace it somewhere. It's nice. And if a reused product is within the scope of the CPR, then you follow the normal C marking product way and do your DOP as I described above. If it's out of the scope of the CPR, because it's no longer a construction product, if you reuse it, you see here, product was transformed or whatever, then you can apply it voluntarily or do something else. And if you do it voluntarily, again, the same road. So we want to encourage people to reuse products, of course. And This is not really possible with the current CPR. And with the current CPR, because it's pointing to the current 15804. So the effort would be good now if I could use it. Here we have the cycle, but the time being, EN 15804 lacks a clear definition of system boundaries and doesn't give a chance to display multi-recycling, and some products are really over and over recyclable, over and over able to be recycled. So the criterion end of waste method reach, that comes from the waste management. And we have a lot of varieties how this is set. Regional, temporal, legal, economic framework conditions in all the countries may be different. And we have 3 principles and possibilities to set the system boundary in 15804. It's the first one. You can make this 50-50. You say, this is my scope of the product system. Some PCR do at the moment, and others do not. You can say, secondary materials we don't care about, but we give benefits at the end of life. And this is a 0-100 in this direction system. Also in line with 15804, if you like. You can do it the other way around. You can say the input is purely nothing, and then you get some benefit elsewhere. So 100, 0. Comparisons of result figures show that reuse and recycling is not always the most beneficial method. Sometimes thermal treatment gets better figures, especially for wood. And this is maybe not so good if you want to go towards recycling and circularity. So I think we have to align this and make it like this maybe, but for all the products. Open issue to be solved, hopefully before CPR is out. And here's my last slides. 2 ones Barbara has already shown you. This is the connection CPR and the building level. And this is the European Commission's work to decide on the regulations and their content. We have the eco-design for sustainable product regulation for all the products. We have the construction products regulation. Up to now, we deal with it. And if they like it, it stays like this. For products for the building sector, they can be assessed with the levels framework methodology for building assessment, which is a basis for taxonomy, EPPD, EED, and public procurement of buildings. There's also some regulations from the Commission. So this is what they are going to do, and everybody has to follow. What will be left to national regulatory framework? What can we do national state per national state? We will have the environmental building assessment methods and certificates and building permits and the benchmarks for it, benchmarks on building levels, and public procurement refinement can be also done on a national level. So no harmonization on building level, never ever, because they will not interfere with the sovereignty of the member states if it comes to the building level quality, and maybe for the good, because the region is different with climate, and the Spanish people have it hot while Swedish people have it cold up to now, and things could be different for the good. So confusion is more than ever in your heads, but as always, don't bury your head in the sand. Look from the desert to the grasslands. 2 years ago, I would have never thought that we would make any progress. Now we're here, and we did some progress. We will not finalize this to the satisfaction of all the market players. And a lot of people from outside of the European Union will really have wide eyes once this is out. But it's the market surveillance people who are questioned to sort this out, what's coming from abroad into the European Union and what's done within. So, Barbara, do we have room for last questions?
Of course, we have room, because everybody is free to leave if he has a lot of hunger or what else. I have one question from Thomas Schmitz, which also is interesting me, because who will decide the accreditation of the notified bodies? Who will decide which institution can be a certified body, because this usually takes a lot of money and resources and time to get an accreditation. You have done this process already. What is about the notified bodies for CPR?
Yeah, I see the question here. The thing is, we have two different basic requirements that will be fulfilled for CPR by manufacturers, 7 and 8. As for 7, we do not have yet any idea after what standards people will do the assessment. It's not been shown in the CPR key process, but there will be specifications, maybe in the hand standards too. And if you want to be a notified body, it depends on your member state, whether you have to be accredited or not. There are member states like Sweden that don't ask for accreditation. There are member states like Germany and Austria who do ask for accreditation. So, as for Thomas and natureplus, your German institution, you would have to see what is the permitted accreditation standards for basic requirements 7, that I do not know, but I guess it's also 17065, the ISO standard, or 17029 for validation and verification. If you're testing products, and you do, I think it's the bigger one. It's 17065. And then you have to do the accreditation process. Of course, people who are already established bodies, they have to widen their scope. If they are accredited, they have to widen the scope as per the standards for basic requirements 7 and 8. So this would be then 15804 and all these hand standards. So this is the thing, how it is going. And it is maybe a bigger bureaucracy in Germany than in Austria. In Austria, the process was quite smooth. At least for basic requirement 8, where you're verifying and validating data models, it was not done the other day, one day to the other, but after a year, you have it and you know what to do. So I'm not sure how DAX is working, if they take longer. We took quite a long time because of COVID, but normally it's not so long in Austria. And I think all the requirements accreditation Austria put on us, they're for the good. So we're really now quite well prepared for this circus. And I think you can do this for basic requirement 7 too. For basic requirement 8, I'm not sure if natureplus needs to do this, because you can take the EPD done by other bodies and benchmark it for your certification. But if you want to be accredited as basic requirement 7, then go for it. Is this answering your question? And it's not so favorable. I mean, for basic requirement 8, the already established bodies, they would have to look for personnel, LCA skilled people who do the verification. And it's those who are the rarities. We have enough accredited bodies. In the group of notified bodies, we had over 40 people participating from all kinds of European accredited bodies who had interests for the environmental stuff, because they do other stuff for CPR, fire resistance, for example. And they now have to choose whether they widen their scope for environment. And at least for basic requirement 7, they would fight for verifiers. So we will see. Some of them will, of course, widen the scope, while program operators for EPD, established ones, will do the accreditation and notification. Does this answer the question somehow? And there's another question. The better figures of thermal use of wooden products at the end of life result because of the still big use of carbon fuels and energy. That's it, yeah. That's what I mentioned. If they use carbon fuels and energy to make wooden products, the effect is, damaged, I would say. But yeah, Thomas, feel free to ask deeper if you want to. I can
No,
go
it's
out of the
it's okay.
presentation and
It's
see your
okay,
face
Sarah.
it. Yeah, it's okay, good. I can see your faces if I make full screen mode or something. Let's see if I manage to do this. Any other questions from anybody?
No.
Nice. Oh, can I say
No.
hi? It's Tracy again.
Yeah.
I'm happy to yield the floor to anyone else who wants to ask a question because I know I've asked a lot, but I'm curious. I primarily work on environmental data in the States, and they're undergoing a whole different, maybe similar, but a whole world of harmonization and standardization circus there. So I'm wondering in Europe with PCRs, is the standardization of them and completeness an issue in Europe? In the sense of, are there many PCRs to choose from? Are they primarily dictated by trade groups and need more standardization and, let's say,
Yeah,
uh,
I know what you mean. I'll go
yeah.
back to the slides I've shown before. We have slow working groups in CEN, and these are the CPCRs that are out already or under revision or whatever. You can buy them, the old version, and you can have the revised version after 1582 for A2. And if there is one on the market already, then the delegated act papers mostly point to them. And if there's nothing available, it will be directly the harmonized standard where all the basic requirements will be detailed, that will take the environmental stuff too. So there's two possibilities of standards in future time. The harmonized standard itself, which is a paper that is binding, or a harmonized standard pointing to such a CPCR. At the time being, the drafts for structural metallic products and precast concrete point to their very CPCR. So if you want to do LCA for concrete and concrete elements, precast concrete and all the other stuff, you will have a harmonized standard saying 1584 indicators, mandatory those of the member state, and go for the CPCR to know how this is to be calculated in detail. Then you go for it and you have some new knowledge how to model and everything is open. Then you can look into the hundreds of CPCR of the program operators and notified bodies that might regulate something in detail. Does this help? Yeah, we have many CPCR, private ones from EPD programs. And most of them we have in Germany, Sweden, Austria, Italy, I would say. France is working totally without CPCR, but they have, of course, to take in mind that this is the CEN clarifications, and of course, they are also valid in France. And yeah, I can show you an example of such a delegated act draft if you want, but those we have so far, there's no substance, no solid matter. It's just referencing to these here. So you can buy them and look into it. And this is how CPCRs will be integrated in this work. I think I have this ranking slide here. So if there's no CPCR, then things might be regulated in the harmonized standard by delegated act also. So you have to go through all the papers. Anytime you make an EPD for a product group, you have to look into this ranking where to find requirements and regulations. And it can be a combination. It can be that you have something in the CPCR, but then it's slow, 5-year periods all the time. And if the commission says that's too slow, let's make a short delegated act that can be out the next day. And here you go. Then you have a standardization request or not. If it's just a delegated act paper in the CPR key and add on to the CPR, then you have CPR, 15 delegated acts, and so be it. And that's how LCA practitioners have to dig themselves through where to find pieces and bits of the rules they have to fulfill. Not an ideal situation and not entirely intuitive, I know, but that's how things are at the moment.
Thanks very much.
Other questions? There's something popping up in the chat. Thomas says thank you and good evening. That's also something for me to say. If there's nothing coming up, last chance. Speak out, people.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really happy you told us all these things and gave us an insight to this really dry and very complex material. And I'm so happy you are here today and you told us all these things, because I think we know now that we can rely on you. So
if you want more, I can guarantee to make a short presentation about the updates at the Bau Congress, of course. This will be the module for experienced people, I guess. And I will also have in the Austrian Standards Institute, but here you would have to fly to Vienna, a whole day about this stuff in June. Actually, it's 2 days. A colleague of mine speaking about CPR, the other basic requirements, and I do the environmental stuff, a whole days of work. There we will hopefully be able to give more details, but this is a paid one and you would have to come to the Austrian Standards Institute if you want to. Anyway, let's keep in touch.
Perhaps you can add these 2 dates add in your presentation that we will.
Yes, I can add it at the last slide or something, then you can go in. But the invitation for the Bau Congress goes over IBU and over natureplus anyway, and this is free and you can just jump in if you want to. And it's about a space for 150 to 200 people online, so we will see each other in the first quarter, but I will make my event after CPR is out, I guess. It makes no sense to tell you this all over again, so don't know the date yet.
Okay. I just want to announce, so go on here. Yeah, this was the last event of this year's European series, but not only Bout is going on, it's also the late lunch sessions in 2024, and I would be happy to see you again all and discuss these topics, because sustainable building, that's our job, isn't it? Thank you, Sarah. Thank you all, you others, and see you again. Have a nice evening and, of course, nice holidays. Bye.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you all. Bye-bye. See you soon on the screen.